2. We made it.
Number 2. We haven't been booed off yet.
I was going to say, they haven't taken us off the air yet, but that would be us.
Well, that's true.
It's not like radio stations I work at where you kind of cross your fingers the day after your first show going, boy, I hope I don't get that bad call.
Well,
call from the boss.
Yeah, well, we're the bosses. So
we're the bosses.
Yeah, we can pull it anytime we want. We can do it. We can shut it down.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to, though.
That's too much power. I don't know if I want that.
It is. Well, welcome back, everyone.
Glad to be here. Jeremy Lance, GJ Schweitzer. So glad to have you. We are finally in EPL season time.
It's real.
It happened. We had like a whole weekend. We have 10 matches. Had one today.
It was almost too much.
It was actually too much. And we'll get into that as part when we talk about the NBC coverage. And now that we have almost too much choice, and I didn't know what to do with myself.
I know. I was overwhelmed.
I was like trying to jump back between all these games, and I felt like I was missing parts. Again, power. I don't think I could handle it.
Well, we're not very powerful people
We had the
yet.
power to choose the games, and I felt like it was overwhelming. But, week 1 in the books. I don't know. I guess this is the podcast where we have the knee-jerk reactions to everything we saw in week 1. People are already Newcastle's relegated, right?
Yep, they're pretty much down.
Done.
Yep, they're going to go down. Arsenal, they'll probably go down too, right?
Yeah, Arsenal's done.
I know.
Both Wenger and Pardew probably are going to get sacked by the time this even gets onto the blog.
Well, it probably will. You know,
the big clubs, for the most part, you're United, you're City, you're Chelsea.
They did exactly what we expected them to.
They played inferior.
Right.
I mean, Swansea. I think Swansea's still a decent team, but.
On the whole, they weren't really challenged.
No.
But at the same time, didn't they look as good as we expected them to?
Yeah, Man U looked like haven't skipped a beat since the end of the season.
Van Persie, or was it Ruud van Nistelrooy?
I think it was Ruud van Nistelrooy, according to our friends at NBC.
Yeah, Ruud van Nistelrooy was on the pitch this weekend, but
maybe they were referring to the other guy in the photo. Oh wait, that was Usain Bolt.
Yeah, well, one of the two.
Well,
you never know. So, but yeah, United, they look like their old selves, picked up right where they left off last season. I mean, definitely on the first day were the most impressive team.
So yeah, I mean, you can say that. You look over at Chelsea, they were going against the vaunted Hull Tigers.
I know.
We saw what we thought we were going to see.
Yeah, they didn't really bring much of a roar, did they?
No, they didn't. Yeah, I mean, it was somewhat underwhelming. The big clubs came out, and this always happens that the first week there's not a whole lot of big matchups.
No.
It's just kind of everyone's getting their feet wet.
Yeah, absolutely. No one has to go in, trial by fire. But I thought there was an overall, the top of the table teams that we expected, that we predicted last week. They made excellent showings, and I do want to give credit to your Chelsea boys, the boys in blue. They did really well this week.
They look good.
And we talked a lot about that midfield last week.
Well, let's talk about that for a second here, because I don't know if I would say that was a side that I predicted.
No, absolutely not. Juan Mata was on the bench.
Just collecting dust.
For 90 minutes.
2-time, back-to-back, reigning player of the year for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Just collecting dust.
I was amazed. First off, I was really pissed because I had him on my fantasy team. So I was really mad about that to start off with.
Do they give you like the little mulligans for guys that don't even show up at all?
Well, so here's what I ended up hoping for. I was like, well, great. He's going to make like a 70-minute appearance, and I'm going to be screwed into 1 point. Well, I was hoping at the end, well, don't put him in. That way I get a straight sub.
Sure.
So I have a guy on the bench who can pop in and give me at least 2 points and not just 1. So, yeah, it's me. I could talk all day about fantasy, so let's not spend all that time. But I was mad at the start, but glad at the end that he didn't actually get in.
But so no Mata.
No Mata.
We had De Bruyne.
Yeah.
Getting the nod.
De Bruyne, I was super impressed with him. We talked about him a little bit last week.
Well, and I guess that's what Josie said. He said he thought he really did a great job in preseason. He showed a lot. He tried real hard. And that, he may not always. It didn't mean that he was always going to be.
Yeah, it's not his spot.
Yeah, it's not his spot. But Josie wanted to give him that as kind of a token of you worked great in preseason and training, getting yourself ready.
And here's your reward.
Here's your reward. You're starting opening day.
Yeah. Well, he was really impressive. Definitely lit it up. His passing inside, 20 yards kind of opened up everything. That he had the assist on the first goal.
Yeah, he set up Oscar on that one.
It was a marvelous little through ball. So I was really impressed with him. Oscar, can't really say anything more about him.
I think you got to imagine that he's going to be more of a fixture this year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year he was kind of what I call a midweek guy.
Yeah.
Playing a lot of
European nights. Yeah.
A lot of FA Cup, a lot of Capital One action.
Yeah.
And I mean that's where he shined. I mean he had those sick goals against Juventus.
Yes.
And that's kind of where at first people were kind of turning their heads like, oh, this guy might be for real.
Well, I think he is for real. And
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, he definitely impressed this weekend as well. Talking about Hazard, he also had a decent match. So overall, I was pretty impressed with Chelsea. You're still a little muted up front.
Well, and that's kind of the other talking point is Torres gets the nod for opening day, which was probably the head scratcher for that lineup. I mean, Mata we knew was possibly he doesn't fit in that Mourinho system, and we didn't know exactly how that was going to work. And obviously, we said De Bruyne had that great preseason, a great tour of the U.S. Torres getting the nod was a bit peculiar. The only thing I say to it is they do have to play Wednesday.
Right.
They play Aston Villa on Wednesday. So maybe it's kind of hard to take a lot out of these lineups because it's
so early in the season.
It's so early, and they have to play a game a couple days later.
Right, and it's too early to really call much of anything. Now, I wouldn't have been shocked at all if Lukaku had started. I kind of wish he had.
I kind of had penciled that one in my head.
Right.
That Lukaku would start. I mean, he was the guy that Josie was talking up.
Well, I don't see Drogba on the roster, so I'm going to pick, the closest thing.
The closest resemblance to Drogba. Except, I got to say, the one thing that Lukaku lacks, I think the beauty about Drogba is it wasn't just he was physical, he was always just giving defenders a hard time, really just making his presence known. But the finesse that Drogba also possessed.
Absolutely.
And I think that Lukaku's still trying to figure that out. He likes to just swing away on some shots that he needs to be a little more patient with.
So one of the best stories I've ever heard about why Drogba was as good as he is and why he was such an intimidating presence, and I think this is something Lukaku hasn't learned to do for a kid his size yet, is Drogba, first 15 minutes, would come out and be a huge battling beast, would kick the crap out of the guy who was marking him the most of the game, going hard on all the challenges, going up in the air, elbows up, really going in strong. And then after 15 minutes, he'd go completely soft, would stop going in as hard. And he would the guy who had been marking him had been baited into thinking he was going to get his ass kicked the whole game. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Drogba's playing kind of soft and he's getting shoved over, and the guy doesn't know how to react because he's already gotten used to it. And that was something that I thought Drogba was magnificent at. He would just draw those fouls. Think of all the fouls that he would pull out of people early on in matches, even cards kind of in the first half. So that's definitely something I think Lukaku has something to work on in his game, but I thought he provided a spark off the bench once he did come in.
Yeah, no, I think he's definitely has himself a future and a role with Chelsea. That's kind of the one thing that's if you're going to make that comparison, Drogba had, that ability to really just, I don't know, he could just take over.
Yeah, well, he had that another level, and maybe we haven't quite seen that out of any of the strikers on Chelsea's roster at the moment.
So the Chelsea striker story, the saga continues.
Yep.
Torres shows up, I don't know, he was okay. He wasn't that egregiously bad.
No.
But then again, he didn't do that much.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was involved in play.
He was.
He seems to have a good relationship with all the players up top. But at the same time...
But was he a threat up top? There's the thing.
No, he was not.
He was not the threat that you kind of are hoping for.
Well, he has time to get sharpened. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see what Mourinho has in store for him. But overall, good performance for you guys.
Yeah, no, it'll be good, and we'll see. Who knows what the roster is going to look like for Wednesday.
Yeah.
I mean, that starting 11 could be completely different.
Well, knowing Mourinho, he's definitely going to rotate your squad. So.
No, absolutely. But so moving on. Talked about United. We talked about Chelsea. City played just a couple hours ago. They played today.
Yeah.
We're recording this Monday night.
And they were really, really impressive. I don't know if you felt that way.
I did.
I'm going to be honest. They scared the crap out of me.
They look good. The only thing that I kind of hold out hope for is, it was Newcastle.
Well, it was Newcastle, and they were really, really bad.
Well, they also played a full half.
Pretty much.
With 10 men.
A half plus man down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Newcastle were bad. But I think that had a lot to do with how good Man City were. This is, not really too many different pieces than what they had last season. We had Navas out on the right. They also had another new signing in today, Fernandinho, who played defensive center mid for him, was really impressive as well. As far as not giving the ball away, played intelligently, wasn't anything like lighting the world on fire. But at the same time, what's different between this team and last year's team is they have an impetus to attack right away. Which
and that was the one thing they said about Mancini was that he always
there was
a conservatism to him. They hold back.
Yeah. Let's play a little defense first, and then we'll, maybe spring. Yeah. But this team under Pellegrini seems to want to go for the throat right away.
Very scary.
And, that's why we see Aguero getting a goal. That's why we're seeing Dzeko, despite not getting on the sheet at all, looked amazing. Did really well in build-up. Had a lot to do with a lot of the play. So overall, I think they're a much sharper side. They seem to fill holes, which City haven't really done the last few years in the transfer market. Mm-hmm. So I was overall really impressed with them. I'm hoping that they fall into these little lulls that they used to last year.
Yeah, Newcastle stinks.
Well,
I mean, I don't want to, we were kind of talking about not burying a team already, but
I know.
There was a team that we kind of already had our doubts about. And, I mean, you had them as one of your bubble teams.
Yeah, they were a bubble team for me.
For relegation.
And they definitely look like they're on the bubble already. And you're right. We're probably casting them into, this kind of bad light already. But at the same time, they did not look good at all.
I was waiting for Tim Krul to start fighting his back line.
Well, okay.
Because they were hanging him out to dry.
Well, if anyone had a good game for Newcastle, it was Tim Krul. And he had some magnificent saves, but also his team was completely invisible in front of him.
And he had the Southwest Airlines want to get away look a couple times there. Just like, really?
Really just frumped over. This is
what
I have to do for the rest of the season. Poor guy.
40-some-odd weeks of this.
Well, he's probably hoping he picks up an injury, maybe get moved on in January.
If he's lucky.
Yeah, if he is lucky.
Other matches that stuck out to you.
Can we talk about Arsenal?
Yeah, let's go into. I was gonna mention Everton, but there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah.
Everton just looked blah.
Yeah, let's get into Everton real fast. So they did look a little blah.
They fought back.
They
obviously.
did. Do you think it had anything to do with Fellaini possibly having his head turned by a potential move to United?
But it's been rejected.
Well,
the double move.
I know. It was a double move.
The combo deal.
And they said it was like, an unsavory offer that they got in from United, a double offer.
It was like 12 for one, 16 for the other.
Yeah, so like a combined 28. And there's no way. I mean, you'd be lucky to get Fellaini alone on 28. So
garbage offer.
Yeah, it was a garbage offer.
Kind of a slap in the face from Moyes to his old club.
Hey,
I don't know how involved he was in that.
Well, you have to think he's a little angry about them never giving him any money over the last few years. And he's just saying, hey, take that. We're
so
he's
just taking his money and just waving it.
Maybe you wouldn't expect that out of him, but, just going to United, maybe you get that little cocky streak in you.
If there's one place to get a cocky streak, I mean, you're running United.
Yeah, that's true.
You can hold your head up.
Yeah, but you don't offer $28 million for, your former team's two best players. Yeah, I don't know about that. So, but their match overall, you're right, they battled back. Norwich looked decent enough.
They looked all right. I was happy for them.
Yeah, it was two mid-table teams battling out to a 2-2 draw.
That's what it looked like. And Everton has kind of been moving away from being just a mid-table team, but I don't know. Do they take a step back this year?
Maybe they do.
And they're just more blah mid-table?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a transition period under Martinez.
Sure.
Whether or not they can replicate.
Martinez, a guy who got the job after his team got relegated.
But they won the FA Cup.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Well,
you're hired.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I think Martinez is definitely a Moyes light. He did really well with Wigan on a shoestring budget. Wigan should have been down several years in a row, and they somehow managed to scrape through.
Yeah, the great escape that he pulled off several times.
Yeah, almost on, the last day of the season every time. So he did what Everton did and what Moyes did at Everton on a lower budget at a lower level on the team. So maybe they bring him in thinking he's going to replicate that. And so far, he's proven that right.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's
talk about it. Come on. I've been wanting to talk about it. And I've taken some flack on Twitter a little bit this week for it. I'll be honest, everyone knows I'm a big Spurs fan.
So why would you really have much positive to say about a team that doesn't have much positive to say about it?
Well, okay. So gloating aside, Arsenal looked really good in the opening 15 minutes, and after that, not really that great at all.
Oh, they looked amazing in this first 15.
And I was really impressed with how Villa bounced back after that opening goal.
Mm-hmm. Credit to Brad Guzan.
Yeah,
amazing game.
Brad Guzan once again should be pushing for that national team spot.
Yeah.
But that said, Villa were really impressive overall. The way they battled back Benteke, huge man, huge performance, did really well for him. But Arsenal really just fell apart after that opening goal. I don't know what happened to them.
It was just. I was talking to my buddy Dave, who's a huge Arsenal fan, and the problem was this was just a bad time to lose.
Right.
Because there is so much pent up frustration from
within
the Gooners.
that fan base. Oh yeah.
And it was just so compounded by the fact that they won out and just laid an egg against a side that they should not have troubles with.
Well,
especially the way they played in that first 15.
Arsenal are threadbare at the moment. They had 12 fully fit first team players going into the match.
Yeah, but they were solid players.
Yeah, they were solid players, and they should do well against a team like Villa, but especially at home.
Especially I saw, Drew last year. He took a little time to warm up.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, right out of the gate, he's ready to go. He puts that win. I'm thinking this is great.
They're going to be rolling.
They're rolling.
But all of a sudden,
just the wheels just start
they
falling
fell off all of a sudden. And it was
like a self-fulfilling prophecy in so many ways.
That was exactly what I was just getting ready to say. It's like they asked for this.
They did.
So, I think I saw them linked to 8 or 9 players today alone. Just reading through the papers.
Nothing panicky about that.
No, not at all. And can you imagine
level-headed.
any team that's being linked to an Arsenal move right now? They're just going, oh, man, they've got all that money. They've talked all summer about all this money they had, and now we're going to get some of it. And you just hold out for the most amount that you could.
This is, they are about ready to reap the Christmas Eve, last-second panic shopping price gouge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sorry, you're going to have to pay double the price.
Oh, you want him? Yeah, no, that's not the price anymore.
So, where do you think it fell apart for the Gooners?
I thought Mertesacker he looked lost at some points.
Mm-hmm.
He looked a little slow.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had realized that the season, it started. This game is real. Feel free to pitch in.
Yeah.
He seemed late to some stuff. I was in and out on this game because once I realized that my parents had all the channels, I was bobbing and weaving through just a deluge of Premier League action.
So we were down at Rhine House and over the Rhine in Cincinnati for the opening day party. Yeah. And great turnout. Thanks everyone for turning out who did. Hopefully there are a few new people out there listening today. But that said, good turnout. But we had 3 matches on going at one time. So I was a little ADD. Which match do I watch? We had the Arsenal match on, at least for the sound. So anytime there's any sort of crowd noise at all, you immediately shift your look over to there. So I got to watch, Sunderland was playing as well. Norwich Everton were going at the same time as well. So it was fun to have all that on, but it was a little tough to watch.
You rightfully avoided Southampton, West Brom like the plague.
Yes.
It was a pretty awful match.
Did you get to watch any of it?
I caught the only part that mattered.
Yeah.
I just happened to be flipping by, and I was like, oh, stay here for this.
Yeah.
There it is.
Wasn't there talk of having like a kind of like the NFL Red Zone concept?
Kind of one of those mixed channels?
Yeah, where they
like
shot.
Red Zone where they just kind of jump.
Yeah, Red Zone where they like shoot to the goals, and that's all you would have. Or maybe a little like pocket screen over on the side.
That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they do have something. Or maybe that's still in development.
Yeah, it could be something that they're still working on. But
we'll get to that in a second here.
Yeah.
The NBC
Super Show.
Dawn of a new era.
Right.
But going back to Arsenal real quick, where things fell off, I think they weren't playing great. And then you had the questionable sending off.
Right.
Or the first yellow was probably the more questionable one, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. They were both. Yeah.
Yeah, they were both soft.
I think it was one of those things where you had a bad situation, and instead of rallying, instead of maintaining, they just said screw it, I think, at some point.
Well, it's like the wheels fell off as soon as that,
the air was out of the balloon.
Yeah, absolutely. And they look like a team that doesn't really have a plan right now. Like everyone's waiting. What's going to be, who's coming in, who's going to save us. I mentioned earlier the midfield, having Aaron Ramsey play your defensive holding mid role just isn't going to do it. He's not an enforcer. He doesn't really have the ability to lock down the midfield and cut off passing lanes like you need out of someone who's going to protect your back four, leaving someone like Mertesacker exposed. So, I mean, the red card certainly didn't help things.
That's when it was like the death spiral was in full effect on that match.
Yeah. So
there was no turning around.
No, it really wasn't. And, hearing those boos rain down at the Emirates, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed it a little bit.
I enjoyed it somewhat too.
Yeah.
Because it was just it was a car crash. I couldn't look away.
Well, it was weird. Down at Rhinehouse, it was like a really pro-Liverpool crowd from the early morning game still out, and just a few guys from Arsenal out. And this one guy was at the bar, and he was the only guy sitting at the bar with an Arsenal shirt on. And any time Villa scored,
who did he have?
Was
he rocking?
I can't remember. I think it was a blank shirt, maybe. Anyway.
Not bad.
Yeah, so he was the only guy up there, and anytime anything like a Villa goal or, something bad would happen to Arsenal, everyone was all in his ear. Oh, that sucks to be you, Arsenal fan. It was so weird how anti-Arsenal was, and I promise I wasn't the person who was stirring all that up, but I have to admit I chuckled at it, and he had a good laugh about it as well. But at the same time, it was kind of fun watching the wheels fall off.
I think it is. We all generally speaking, we all have that point in the season or just an entire season in general where just things just don't go well and we just have to wear it.
Yeah.
You just got to wear a bad season or a bad stretch.
And I feel like the Arsenal fans have done a really poor job of adjusting to wearing it every once in a while because they went so long not having to wear it.
But I mean, like, we all go through it to the point where, like, we all understand how much it sucks. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we all kind of have earned the right to go. Kind of just enjoy someone else's because we know how terrible it's going to be for us.
I've enjoyed it. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Spurs, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay, just a little bit.
Did you catch any of this game? Was this on your radar?
It was on my radar. Okay. Surprise, surprise. Right. I was quasi-impressed with the team. At times they looked really good. At times they looked really bad. You can tell that they don't know what they're doing without Bale out there right now. All last season when things weren't quite going their way, they'd look to Bale and he'd pull out something special.
Right.
Yesterday, they kind of looked like a team with their head cut off a little bit.
What was Bale's official injury?
He has foot pain, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 weeks worth of foot pain. Ironically, taking you right to the end of the window.
He at least did the noble thing and stayed out of international play.
That's true. He did. I saw him do a few sprints in the Wales practice gear, and that was about it, which was nice.
Sure.
And he's been at Spurs training ground a bit, and they tend to spin unhappy picture comments about him when he's driving.
Frowny face.
Yeah,
face.
Yeah, you can really tell when you're looking through his car window as he's driving into practice. But that said,
see into a man's soul that way.
You can. I look into your soul that way.
That's why I get here before you.
I know.
So you can't see me in a car.
I know, and you wait until I leave as well. So everyone knows that I'm a creep now. But that said, they did look like they were missing Bale. I was really, really impressed with Soldado up front. We finally have a striker that looks like he knows what he's doing up there and fits the scheme that we're playing, as well as Etienne. I'm going to say this hopefully correctly. Etienne Capoue. The new
sounds good.
I know. Some people like to call it Capoue. Either way, came on, had a 33-minute debut, and had 6 interceptions, which, we're talking about stats, but it was actually more than like 4 other teams had on the whole for the entire Premier League debut this weekend.
Your boy, Soldado, I keep looking at him and thinking it's Van der Vaart.
Yeah. He does look a little bit like Van der Vaart.
Like him.
Yeah, a little bit. He does this weird thing with his hand where he kind of dangles it. It bothers me a little bit. But other than that, I like him.
He's got like the Iron Robin like dead hand thing.
Yeah, going. A little bit. It's kind of limp, kind of flapping about.
It's kind of
kind of like a T-Rex, kind of like a T-Rex. So anyway, but other than that, I was really impressed with that. But they do look a little lost, and hopefully, whether Bale leaves or not, that we can be a little bit more fine-tuned next time out. So.
All right. So overall, not too terribly impressed by your squad.
It's 3 points away on the road. I'm not going to complain about that.
Nothing sucks about that.
No, with 4 new players debuting, I'm pretty happy with it overall. So,
One guy you mentioned last week that, I guess you kind of wanted the club to do well. You wanted him to do well, more importantly.
Oh, yeah.
Josie.
Yeah, Josie.
I thought he had a pretty decent. I mean, for being on a Sunderland side that otherwise looked pretty terrible.
Yeah.
He
did
looked
well.
good. He was creating chances. He had his. He looked like he was comfortable in that role of having his back to the goal and just kind of
Leading the line for them.
Yeah, and then kind of feeding other guys.
I'll be honest, I was a little surprised that he actually got the start out of the gates. You think he would be? I mean, for as much money as they spent on him, you'd hope that he would.
Their big spend.
But at the same time, there's that stigma of the last time he played in the Premier League. And granted, everyone seems to forget that he was 17 when that happened.
Sure.
Josie was
in on an extremely bad club.
Oh yeah, the Hull City AFC, not Hull City Tigers, to be confused with the current edition.
Artists
of them.
formerly known as.
They were a bad team. But I was impressed to see him in his debut. I thought he did well. But you're absolutely right. The Black Cats look like a team lost a little bit as well. Kind of in the same way that Spurs were, just on a little bit worse level.
I didn't realize Fulham actually has like a pretty decent opening day win streak. I think it's like 5 in a row now.
That's impressive for a team that's really not all that impressive all the time.
Pretty average.
Yeah, they are average.
And they look pretty. Actually, I'll be honest. Fulham, outside of that goal and a few moments here and there, they look just as bad.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, that game was ugly. That was probably the ugliest game of the weekend that I got to watch any significant time of, at least in the EPL.
Yeah, you missed that beautiful West Brom Southampton.
Well, yeah, we talked about that, and I'm glad I missed it. There really wasn't much
to
watch.
Good passing clinic.
Yeah.
By the way, if you hear noises in the background, we are in a studio with a newsroom next to us.
Yeah, it's dinging off over there on us.
Bells and whistles and police scanners and I don't know. So there might be like a fire or something going on right now.
Hopefully it's not in the studio.
Well, hopefully not here.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like an actual alarm within the building would go off instead of us having to learn on a police scanner.
Yeah, what kind of room do you have me in
down.
here? Now I'm a little worried.
It's heavily insulated, as you'll tell by the fact that you're sweating profusely.
I know. It's probably just this place will go up in flames so fast.
I don't think the fire marshal would be a fan of this place. We got carpet on the walls.
Yeah. It does make it nice. Doesn't quite keep out the dinging, though.
Sure. No, it doesn't do that. We can talk about that real quickly. Rickie Lambert.
Yeah.
Pretty nice week for him. He 2 winners.
Dude had a week to remember, for sure. So what? He comes in off the bench to make his England debut at 31.
Sure.
Already a fairy tale story on that front. And then he manages to score a goal minutes later. That was impressive as hell.
The winner.
Yeah, the winner.
Not just a goal.
Yeah,
Not just,
the winner.
It wasn't garbage time goal. The winner.
Yeah, against Scotland. Yeah. So for pride.
It was a pride thing.
Yeah, for the Queen probably even.
I was in that day because I'm covering the tennis tournament here in Cincinnati.
Right.
So it's over now, but the Western and Southern Open. I was in the Andy Murray press conference, and I got the sack to just ask him, hey. This thing starts in like 10 minutes. Are you going to go watch it? And he was like, oh, yeah. What channel is it on?
Where did he go to watch it? Do you know?
I'm guessing he just went back to the hotel and fired it up on some kind of hosting site. He seems like a guy that's all into the piracy and illegal websites. And
he does really seem like that.
Having
dirty Brit.
Yeah. Having a good pop-up blocker.
Would it be nice if you could convince Andy Murray to go get a pint with you to watch some football? Could you have expensed that here at the station?
I could probably expense it.
Oh,
he's
man.
a really nice guy and he's one of my favorite athletes. He's kind of a dull individual though.
Yeah, he'd probably just sit there and watch the game and calmly sip on a Guinness. Leave at halftime.
Yeah. Here's $4. I don't know how much my thing costs. Could you cover that?
Yeah. So back to Rickie Lambert though. That said, he comes in, has another great performance. This time for his club. He really did have a week to remember.
It was a good week.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of the fact that he still does have to play for Southampton, and that also might be one of his only appearances.
Right.
In an England uniform.
Yeah.
So, but that was the EPL week. But I think the other big story about the EPL, and I think it's something we'll kind of always be discussing because, we're given the American fan perspective, and part of that is just how we consume and digest.
Right. We don't get to go to the stadiums and actually watch this.
Some of us that have the money, I guess, to go. Good for you.
Yeah. It's not me on my blogger's salary.
Most of us will never see the inside of our favorite team's stadium.
Most of us.
Yeah, I mean, I was at Stamford Bridge this summer. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I've actually been to White Hart Lane.
Okay, so
some of us get to go.
Others don't.
Yeah.
A lot of us, all we ever see is either on TV or the rare chance we get if they do a preseason tour.
Right.
So, yeah, the big thing that happened, obviously, is NBC taking over, and we got our first look at NBC's coverage. And I got to say, I really enjoyed it.
I want to say wow. It was fun.
It was just, and being someone who has worked in TV, has worked in radio, it was so well done.
It really was. Like,
not
from
to
start
say that
finish.
Fox was like, some kind of hack job public access thing, but NBC put the full weight of that NBC production value that we've known for decades behind the coverage.
It was really professionally done. I mean, you felt like you were watching. It didn't look like their first run.
It did not look like
it looked like they've been doing it for years.
That was one of my biggest takeaways. Like, I feel like in a way I was like transported to England or wherever, where it was just, this is just what they do.
Right.
And they know how to do it, and they do it well.
Yeah. And it was, the commentary was great.
Interesting call to go with two in-studio analysts, both named Robbie.
Yeah, that was a little odd.
Possibly not the greatest call they could have made, although I like both of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie Earl and Robbie Musto were the two in-studio analysts that they had in between games and at halftime and the like.
With Rebecca Lowe.
With Rebecca Lowe, who doesn't really look as good as I remembered her looking. But
well, it's
been
a little bit of time, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's true. We all age. I don't look as beautiful as I used to. So.
I used to have hair.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a transition.
It's just moving from the top of your head down onto the lower portion of your face. So.
Or as I say, my son stole it because he has a big old mop of red hair.
Let him know that you can take it back if you want.
His future is not bright as far as that's concerned. But anyways, the NBC thing I thought was just spectacular.
It really was.
Like,
well done.
We live in this cynical world where you wanted to get out the knives.
You really
did.
You
wanted to go, look at this stupid move. And yeah, they did completely cock up that whole thing with that picture.
Yeah.
With
Van
Persie and Usain Bolt.
But I mean, everyone was like looking for something to pick at, just like you were saying. And that's the best we could come up with.
That's it. That is
really
all you
was
really
it.
had. The only other criticisms I heard, and I would agree with it to an extent, but again, that's kind of part of what I enjoyed. Some people thought it was a little too sterile.
Yeah.
And some people, I also heard the criticism that it was too British.
Yeah.
That it needed to have an American flavor to it.
Well, they really didn't have American flavor to it at all until.
So there was Kyle Martino on Sunday.
There was. He was the only American in it.
But that is it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was strictly a British production in so many ways.
Right. Which I can get why that would rub people the wrong way. At least some people.
Some people. I mean, I could see where. Yeah, no, it might be nice, to have maybe Martino on a little more, where we always have that American perspective, but ultimately we're talking about a British league, and we're talking about, you want to get the ex-athletes. Well, the old ex-athletes are all older British dudes.
And they're the ones who happen to speak English.
Yeah.
Which we all understand because we speak English here, in case everyone's forgotten. So, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with them having a...
But those were like the two criticisms I heard, and both of them I was kind of like, whatever.
It's like grasping at straws, though. I mean, it's really not that bad. So
overall, first off, did you watch it on TV or did you use the live extra?
So I watched it on TV and I used the live extra.
Okay.
So I used a combination of both. The live extra was pretty good. If you have, like we said last week, if you have access to it, and you have a way to get in and watch games on it, I think it's really nice to actually get in.
I watched the whole Man City game today here at work, right here on my phone.
Nice.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It never really glitched up. It never really bogged down. They must have put some pretty decent money in the development of it. I mean, because I used it last summer for
the Olympics,
and
it was so then.
It occasionally got a little bogged down.
Yeah. So, no, I think, coverage overall was really good. we couldn't really ask for anything more than that, and that's why I was feeling a little overwhelmed this weekend, because there was just soccer hitting me constantly.
Too much soccer.
Yeah, well,
which I don't
think that really exists.
I don't think it exists, but at one time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's hard to watch more than one match at a time.
Yeah. So one aspect of the coverage that I think a lot of people are attributing to NBC's coverage, and I don't want everyone to get confused about it, but it's also awesome, has to be goal line technology, right?
Oh, absolutely. When we saw it, it was one of those things where you always heard, we can implement this. It'll work. It's the same system that they use in tennis. It's the Hawkeye system. And it'll work really quick, too.
Right.
They weren't kidding about that.
No, it worked really, really fast. We had, instant access to it. We got to see it, twice this weekend?
Yeah,
Twice.
Chelsea match we saw it, and then we saw it in the Liverpool match.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in the Liverpool match, it was just a shot hitting the bar and going right back out. So
right.
There really wasn't ever any question about it. But in the Chelsea match, it actually told us whether or not there was a goal.
Yeah, and then we got to see that whole graphic of exactly how far.
Oh, that was so cool.
How far the ball made it across.
That was so cool. It was amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's exactly what we wanted. I find me someone who thinks it's bad.
There's got to be the idiot out there.
Yeah.
And he's on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he's going to find one of us.
Yeah, he will.
And bum us out.
Let me hear about it. Give me a good explanation and a good argument. Maybe we'll even ring you up.
The human element.
Yeah.
That's the defense.
Yeah.
Oh, the human element. You're taking away the human. What's next? What are you going to do next?
Next will be offsides. I hate it when they get offsides right.
Yeah, I hate when the truth is confirmed.
Right. It's the worst.
That sucks.
I know. Don't let it bleed in. But don't think that that's something that's restrictive just to NBC. Everyone's actually getting the same stuff.
It's the league itself that's running it.
Yeah.
And
I look
flawlessly.
I know. I look forward to it solving more problems for us in the future. Now, the one funny thing I did hear, this is a real quick story. Apparently, at the Arsenal match this weekend, they flashed these things up on the boards too for the fans to actually see in the stadium.
Oh, okay.
And at one point where the ball really was no question a goal or not, no one was expecting there at all, it flashed up on screen, no goal. Kind of extra insult to injury to Arsenal, just so you guys know you haven't scored another goal. So I think that was the only thing I have really heard anyone complain about it at all.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So
was that a home game?
Yeah, it was a home game.
Wow.
So
what were the in-house entertainment people doing?
I don't know. Melting down like everyone else.
Quick on the yeah. You have one job.
Yeah.
And it's not to do.
And you failed.
Yeah.
So other than that,
just
NBC.
A bad week for them.
Thumbs up. Yeah, and a horrible week for Arsenal.
Thumbs down, Arsenal. NBC. I'd say 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on NBC's first week? I got to enjoy not only just the games that were on NBC Sports Network, the United game that was on NBC. Today watching on the Live Extra app on my phone, the City match. Also, my parents in Milwaukee, they have AT&T Uverse is their cable provider. So not only was I able to do the whole phone situation or laptop situation for the future, but they also had all of the Live Extra games
on
TV in full HD.
That's amazing.
Which I guess DirecTV also has that.
Yeah, I think they did. In fact, that's why we were able to watch 3 games at once at the bar.
If you have DirecTV, maybe we suggest looking into DirecTV if you can afford it.
Yeah.
I think they're generally considered one of the more expensive providers.
They are. But they're pushing me that way.
You're getting all the channels right there in full use of your TV.
I need more full use of my TV. But
it
sounds amazing.
Full use
sounds
of your TV.
Amazing.
We talked about it last week, the other dominoes from the whole switch over to NBC, and obviously the big domino was Fox. Did you miss any of Fox's coverage? Did you miss Barton and Winalda getting after it?
I never miss Winalda, but at the same time,
I'm a
Winalda hater.
You're a Winalda hater.
I'm a Winalda hater.
Okay, now so there's the 2 polarizing guys.
Right.
There's Winalda and there's Lawless.
Right.
Are you anti both of them?
No, and that's weird. I like Lawless. I think I like that Lawless has a little bit more lackadaisical approach to things. I think
Sure.
he's very practical in the way he thinks about stuff.
Yeah, he is. I think the big criticism about him, and I'm not saying it's criticism I really have. Honestly, I like both of them.
Right.
Lawless does occasionally get a little too homeristic with the U.S. men's national team,
Right.
and he is very loyal to that MLS brand.
He is.
To a fault sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, both of them have their faults. Both of them have their pluses.
Wijnaldum's faults slightly more obvious.
Yeah, I mean, for me, with Wijnaldum, it's always ego. I feel like he's always coming down to, comparing it almost to what he would have done. And he's really gotten away from doing that over the last few years. But
I think he's evolved as a commentator.
yeah, he has, absolutely. And, he's great at stirring up controversy, and I think that's probably what really rubs me the way.
Yeah, but the reality is the Fox producers were like, yeah, keep doing that.
Do that, Eric.
You and Warren Barton, make sure you guys are never on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they achieved that. So, yeah, I mean, did I miss them? No, but it felt weird not having them there this weekend. I'll admit that.
It was, we kind of said last week, it was going to be bittersweet.
It was.
Fox to soccer fans had meant so much for so many years.
It was.
They were our island.
They really were.
In a lot of ways. And you almost felt dirty a little bit that you're like, I'm turning to NBC today. Like,
I know. Well, we didn't have a choice.
Did Wijnaldum and Warren Barton and Stone, did they just kind of hang out in the empty studio?
They
all
did.
Morning, or?
And then they filmed their new show.
That's right. They're not going away completely.
They're not. So it's weird. We now have, Fox Soccer Daily.
Which is, we thought originally it might have just, and this, I guess, is more cleaning up from last week.
Right.
We thought it was going to be more the guys from Fox Soccer News just getting a jazzed up studio and doing their thing for 30 minutes, an hour. I don't know how long
it's 30 minutes so far.
Not the case.
No, it was shiny. New. They were using the official Fox Sports 1 studio, the same one that they were using for.
Looks very similar to the game day studio that
it does.
Every other Fox property
it
was
is.
using.
But at the same time, we had fancy on-screen graphics, although it was a little too busy. But at the same time, it looked nice.
Fox is known
for polish.
Being a little too busy.
Yeah, absolutely. They're kind of, throw as much on the screen as you can at one time. And you get that. But at the same time.
Even if you look over Sky Sports, they were that whole L bar thing that Fox Sports 1 was using during their Sports Center thing, their Fox Sports Live.
Right.
That was ripped straight out of Sky Sports.
Well, my favorite thing that they had on the L bar today, I was watching, they were talking about Mourinho and his, that he's now the happy one. But underneath Mourinho on the right side, they had a picture of his head, and then it said, Jose Mourinho. And then right underneath that, in quotation marks, it said, special one. Not the special one, just special one.
And not the happy one,
which is what he prefers now.
It's what he has branded himself.
Yeah, and everyone's still going to call him the special one, but it was just a little weird. But at the same time, I liked it, and it was fresh. But it's sad to think that what used to be 2 whole channels has now been compressed into 30 minutes a day.
And I guess Fox Soccer Plus still will live on as your place for that UEFA Champions League game that you didn't care about.
Right, exactly.
Those 2 teams that you can hardly pronounce the name of the team.
Poznan versus some team from Turkey that ends in a Bangalore.
Yeah, that'll probably be disqualified due to something.
Yeah, cheaters. But anyway, you're absolutely right. So it's weird though. We predicted the demise and we were expecting the demise of Fox Soccer Channel, but I turned to my channel, flipping through my favorites today, and it's still there.
It's still there. Fox Soccer is not dead. It is mortally wounded.
Yeah.
It will die.
We know it's going down.
I guess I read this article in or feature. I guess they call it in Variety. It was more about Fox Sports 1, but it kind of talked about the domino effect of that, and the FXX is what they're calling it, the FX2.
Right.
That will be replacing it eventually.
Right.
Doesn't start till September.
So that's why.
So we'll have a few more weeks of, for some reason,
last year's Champions League games.
Yeah. Which those don't really do much for me.
Not anymore.
2 years ago would be good.
Yeah, you might enjoy that one. No. I hated that.
I haven't seen any of them. We get Fox Sports or Fox Soccer News still on.
Yeah. I mean, so we now have Fox Soccer Daily.
In a very sad state of like, these guys know they're fired.
Well, they still look like that, a production team that's at your local high school doing like your morning high school news, not quite polished.
Yeah. It's a little rough. The green screen is not very believable.
Passed down from like, the football broadcast from the mid-'90s, something along those lines. But it's still going to live on in this zombie state.
They're going to, I guess, I don't know if they're going to play I don't know how they would play any live matches. I feel like anything live that they own from this point on is going to be on Fox Soccer or Fox Sports 1 and 2.
Right.
Including this week. We have the UEFA playoff games will be on there.
Yeah, they absolutely will.
1 and 2.
Yep. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with them over the coming weeks, but it's weird to see them, linger on.
It's there, but it's not there.
Yeah.
They're playing games. They played a lot of FA Cup finals over the weekend.
I guess that's nice. No.
Well,
what do you show when the Premier League's
that's the
playing
thing.
on the other channel?
They're playing the only properties they own. They can't play EPL archives anymore. They don't own that.
Yeah, it's true.
So they have to play FA Cup archives to get you ready for the EPL season.
Do you think deep down they were, playing some games for some teams that were playing at the same time, kind of just hoping that they were going to trick someone into thinking they were watching the live Premier League matches? Like,
hey, when did they get Drogba back? This is awesome.
Oh, my gosh. Look, United and Chelsea are playing on the opening day of the season. I don't remember reading about that, but that's great.
This is amazing.
So, yeah, we get to watch it limp on into the sunset.
So it's sad in that way. And then the third little domino we can talk about real quickly. Another thing we kind of got wrong. Didn't really know when ESPN FC started.
Right.
We recorded it on Sunday night. The answer, Sunday night.
Yeah. So we really missed that one pretty well. I was fairly impressed with that as well. I mean,
I thought it looked great.
It's what we've come to expect from ESPN as far as their soccer coverage is concerned. So it's not like we've been blown away or anything, but you're absolutely right. It looked great. It was properly done. It was production value.
I mean, ESPN, to their credit, like, love them or hate them, the way that they go about their business, they're not going to put on a product that they're just half-assing. Like, they're going to go all out and make a quality product. They're not going to just put up some rinky-dink studio and have one guy they're not going to just make basically what is currently Fox Soccer News.
Right.
They're going to put that ESPN
pizzazz
polish and shine on it. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was nice. It's good that we have all these daily shows and they're going to cover these things for us now, which is progress, I guess, even though we're losing 2 dedicated channels. We do have kind of this exposure on all the major networks.
We have 3 networks airing non-live game, just shows about soccer.
Right.
Which is still good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're right. We lose the channel, but we gain, I think, in many ways a lot more.
Yeah.
We'll see how things go moving forward. We kind of talked about it a little bit last week. Will ESPN FC eventually get bumped out of that sweet 4:30 p.m. spot to something a little more
presentable?
I was going to say a little more midnight to 1:30-ish.
Yeah, we could absolutely see it get pushed there. So
I mean, that the show that predated it, the Press Pass,
right,
aired at 2:30 in the morning,
right,
on ESPN News.
Well, that's 8:30 in the morning over in England,
right?
Where they're picking off the guys who are actually doing that for us.
I think it was just the feed from
yeah.
And it was good. I DVR FC anyways. So.
Gave me something to watch in the morning.
Sure. So we'll see what happens with that, how they treat that going forward. Obviously, the way that Fox handles covering soccer with not having the crown jewel that is the EPL. So far, so good. Even the Fox Sports Live, ESPN Sports Center kind of style show that they do. Saturday night, their debut show, they had a pretty sizable EPL segment. It was just highlights. They didn't have any kind of analysis or anything, but
right.
That's pretty good. That's more than SportsCenter can say most of the time.
No, it was definitely something that was needed on ESPN for a long time. You're kind of amazed that we haven't had it already.
Right.
As much as they show soccer over the last few years.
Well, that's what always I just found it just ridiculous. SportsCenter would always do, like, we're not going to show you the actual highlights of the game, But during our top 10 plays, 4 of the top 10 plays
are going
will
to be
goals.
spectacular goals.
From the EPL weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what you come to expect.
That's what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we get, a half hour, an hour?
You get that, and it's an hour on Sundays, which, wow, I watched that. That's a good show. That's a good hour. I mean, it is literally, they just throw every highlight from the weekend they can at you.
Yep.
I mean, they were like, here's PSG, here's United, here's the Chelsea match, here's Schalke getting drilled. It
really was nice.
It was a little sensory overload.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great show. So, I don't know. I like it. We'll see moving forward how they treat it, how Fox treats their things. And, NBC, I mean, they're not going to, everyone's going to probably have production meetings this week of what they're going to improve or what they're going to change. That
hopefully, they'll label all the pictures correctly this time around.
That's probably going to be topic number 1 in production
It'll be
meeting.
near, if not at the top, near it.
I'm going to say an intern looking for a new job this morning.
Perhaps. Come to wrong side of the pond. No, we don't want you there either.
Well, it's an intern. You don't have to actually pay him.
Well, I do need unpaid help.
Well, there you
great.
go.
So
just don't have them label pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on. Let's get into a little MLS action for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So a decent weekend of MLS action.
It's one of those things where EPL has
Comes
their big
in.
weekend, so
this is where everyone in the the New York City MLS offices is going, great.
Yeah.
It's
Let's weather this storm.
So what can we do to get everyone's attention again? That's definitely what they're thinking right now. And unfortunately, they didn't exactly have a weekend that really shook anything.
No. I mean, in fact, I would say it's not how they drew it up in the board meeting.
No, absolutely not.
Well, we need to steal the headlines. How about that new signing? Clint Dempsey has a big game. Well, he was pretty ineffective, and Seattle got completely trounced.
Yeah, they absolutely did. So
not what they wanted.
And to Seattle's, well, probably not Seattle's credit, but to Houston's credit, Houston's one of the best teams in MLS, and
they showed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Seattle are a seventh place, sixth place team, and they showed that as well. So just bringing in Clint Dempsey isn't going to necessarily
game changer.
Yeah, I mean, everyone expected this is the same kind of thing that happened when Beckham came over. Oh my gosh, the Galaxy, how many goals is he going to score this year?
That was the best part. It's like, well, that's not really his role.
Yeah, now Dempsey does score some goals.
I remember back in the day, not to get sidetracked too much, but explaining that to people that were just casual sports fans or sports fans that just weren't into the whole soccer thing, but hey, the big name Beckham's coming to town. So they go, oh, Beckham's coming. This is going to be awesome. Watch him score a bunch of goals. And to have to explain to people, that's not really his job.
Right.
He's not. I mean, he'll set pieces, sure. But he's not going to be the guy up front just hammering it into the back of the net.
But I heard that he's the Michael Jordan of soccer.
Yeah, but soccer doesn't work in that way. Otherwise, if he was the Michael Jordan of soccer, he would also have 5 goals a game.
Right. So I mean, it's definitely not quite that kind of expectation with Dempsey, but you do kind of get that feeling that everyone's kind of, ooh, what's he going to do tonight? And maybe he might not do anything. He needs to rely on 10 other people on the field to actually get anything done.
And he's still probably getting himself acclimated to, this new side.
A new team. Shoot, he's probably still jet lagged. I mean,
he's going from,
London
to the West Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a lot of time difference.
That's 8 or 9?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a lot to adjust to. New teammates, new surroundings, jumping on long plane rides for away games, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot to ask out of a guy immediately. So you're right. It didn't quite go to plan, at least as far as Dempsey was concerned.
No.
So the other kind of more close to news or close to home news, the Crew are on I don't even know if I can say this in the same sentence as the Crew, a winning streak.
Cool. Print those playoff tickets.
I know. Everyone get them ready. I bet they're mailing them out right now.
That's absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 games, so no one get too excited. And they are definitely riding the wave that is Gonzalo Higuain. He's had 2 braces back-to-back, a chip, a ridiculous chip
that was
in each
amazing.
of the games.
Again, made it on top plays on SportsCenter. Highlight nowhere to be found during the actual show.
This game happened somewhere. Something exciting happened in it, but we're not going to let you know what happened in the rest of it.
Not going to give you the final score of this one, but check this out.
Yeah, just in case you're interested.
Won't even tell you who this guy is.
So, the crew seemed buoyed by their new acquisition, perhaps, winning the Trillium Cup after beating Toronto.
It's the one we've all been wanting.
I know. It's the one that everyone gets excited about. I struggle to get excited about these imaginary trophies. But at the same time, it's definitely good to see them doing well. Will they make it into the playoffs? Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath.
We need to do a segment someday just on the concept that MLS had of just, instead of just having derbies, that there needs to be an actual cup involved.
Yeah. They do love these.
Pros and cons.
Yeah. Of manufactured MLS cups.
Manufactured rivalries with cups.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll have to get into that one.
That'll be, one for a later show.
Yeah,
Log
absolutely.
that away for a rainy day.
So other than that, I also watched a really, really boring match between San Jose, Kansas City, and it was a bit of a snooze fest.
For two teams that I think you'd expect
a little bit more out of them, but they really didn't look that sharp. So, a quiet weekend in MLS, which doesn't necessarily bode well with the returning of the sleeping giant.
That's another thing to put on the podcast for a rainy day. A segment on how to explain to friends that sometimes in soccer, games are just going to be just a hot mess of boring.
Yeah, it does happen.
It happens.
That's what
almost once a week.
You just hope that you're not bringing out someone for their first soccer game ever when that happens.
It felt like Fox. I think it was this past season. Their big games that they hyped up had really were just turds.
Yeah, they really picked bad ones.
ESPN kind of did it a few times too.
It's
and
bound to
hyped these
happen.
up as like, hey, let's bring in some non-soccer fans and watch. And then you have to apologize at the end.
Yeah, sorry it was boring, folks.
This happens sometimes. Sometimes no one scores, and you don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
No one does.
Well, the NFL has its boring games too.
Oh, absolutely. We live in Cincinnati. Of course they have.
Well, let's not get into that.
Perfect example of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Quick thing we did want to mention before we got out of here is obviously what happened Wednesday.
Right. The national team.
The national team in action. Friendly, but
not so friendly.
Well, I don't think much in Bosnia is friendly.
That's true.
I saw a tweet from Roger Bennett of ESPN FC who was at the match. And just as the teams were coming out onto the pitch and that I don't know if any of the national anthems had started at that point. I think the TIFO had just unveiled itself. Which I think it was something about blood and sweat you shed. We will remember that.
Yeah, something something very Eastern European.
So
You're kind of
Eastern
expecting
bloc.
like that for the comrades.
But he said that he tweeted out that around that time, someone from the audience decided to chuck a good-sized rock into the press box.
Nice.
So,
welcome to Bosnia.
Welcome to Bosnia.
Well, the next time someone offers me to report on a game in Bosnia, which has still never happened,
you're going to say no.
I'll have to say no. I don't like getting hit with rocks in the head.
I don't want to get hit with a rock.
Yeah, not tonight anyway.
But that match was huge.
Yeah, it really was.
Ways,
it showed, us, and we'll get to the records here in a minute, but
showed resilience.
It showed resilience.
Showed that we have a striker that's playing out of his mind.
Absolutely. We talked about Josie earlier, but he is really on form with the national team, and it's definitely hitting his stride. My wife accidentally tweeted out from my Twitter account that day. She claimed she wasn't trying to hack it, but she did midway through that game saying, "Welcome to the Josie Show."
Oh, and that wasn't you?
That wasn't me.
I think I might even favorited it or retweeted it.
You may have. I don't know, but that was my wife. So
that was good effort.
Yeah. So I normally try to steal any of the things that I can from her, but that one was actually her there. But
an amazing game. I was in the stupid press box at the Western and Southern tournament, and for some reason ESPN2 working fine the night before, not working that afternoon, just not coming in on the TVs.
Huh.
So I was kind of running around trying to find a feed and kind of following it on Twitter for most of it, and had to go watch it on DVR later in the day. But just, I think anytime you come back.
Yeah. I mean, when was the last time we saw the national team come back like that? I mean, I can't think of a time where we've shown that kind of resiliency and the ability to bounce back from going down 2 goals in the opening half.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Who did we play at the end of the last group stage in qualification?
Honduras?
Didn't we go down 1-0
We might have. I can't remember.
early? And this was like, USA needs to win this.
Right.
And so they bounced back from that. Otherwise,
I can't really think of a time they've come back that well.
To come back from being kind of thrown around for the first 45.
Absolutely.
Dzeko was all over the joint.
Well, Dzeko, I mean, I don't know what it is with the teams that I support, but Dzeko just tends to tear us all apart.
Just beats them up.
Yeah.
But that second half performance.
It was really, really impressive.
I was just, and this is another one that we'll have to save for a rainy day podcast because once we're in season, there's not a whole lot of free time. But I feel like we are really starting to see the fruits of Klinsmann's labors.
Yes.
In Gold Cup, which I know a lot of people deride as, oh, wow, we have the best B team in CONCACAF, which I think in that case it was more of a C team out there. But
yeah.
Anyways, I feel like this summer and in really the last 6 months we've seen so much progress, and this was kind of one of those, just another example of, I don't know if 2 years ago they're coming back from 2-0.
Right.
In fact, I could pretty much say they're not.
I probably would have changed the channel a couple of years ago. Like, well, great.
This game's over.
I'm not going to watch any more of this. So, no, it was amazing to see them show that kind of heart. It's in years past we would have rolled over, and that would have been the end of the game.
Yeah.
So seeing Josie light it up like this, again, it reinforces I think he needs to have that great season at Sunderland. But it definitely gives us hope because, we're writing now a 12-game winning streak?
12, which is the largest active win streak in
international football. Yeah, take that. Put us at the top of the table. We should have a number 1 world ranking or something like that.
We do if you look at the women's one.
Well, that's very true. Valid point there. But no, seeing them do that's great. So more.
It was, I don't have a ton on this match. Again, I kind of had to go back and watch it, which is never fun.
Yeah.
But it's just another performance where you go, well, this could go bad, or they could come out flat-footed, which they did, or this could just be a nothing. They're not all into it. It's a weird selection by Jurgen. It just doesn't fit. But it didn't happen. Outside of Josie, the quote-unquote big names weren't really there.
No Clint Dempsey.
Yeah.
No Landon Donovan.
Right.
So, those kind of things show that this team has a little bit more to it.
It was kind of Josie and Bradley, and they got it done.
Well, those are two guys you would want to have if you had to pick out of the 4. Out of the 4, if you could only pick 2, those are the 2 I'd pick. But that's me.
But, that's what always been the thing is people were saying, okay, we have Dempsey, we have Donovan. Who's the next group of guys that are going to come in, or who are the next 2 stars that are going to come in and take over that role of, oh, man, it's a good thing this guy's here.
Right, absolutely.
And I think we're seeing that.
Yeah.
Bradley, I think definitely fits that mold. And
the way Josie's playing right now, he's finally living up to what we all expected out of him, which is great.
Which feels good.
Yeah.
Maybe there's hope for you out there, Freddie Adu.
Yeah, no.
Maybe not that much hope.
Yeah, not that much
hope.
All
right.
So
I'll dial that back a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you can one day score another goal, Freddie Adu.
For
just
someone.
The one.
For someone. Just keep someone happy that pays you money to play soccer, you little bastard.
He doesn't really seem to do that much.
No, he doesn't.
All right, anything else? We have a pub of the week?
Yeah, we do have a pub of the week. So,
awesome.
Last week we talked about a local pub. This week I'm going to talk about one that's actually in New York City.
Whoa.
Yeah, the Big Apple. So
okay.
This one's probably pretty familiar. Some of you out there have probably heard of this pub before. I actually did an interview with the head barrister there. But this is, it's actually 2 pubs. It's a pub within a pub. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Football Factory at Legends.
Oh, yeah. NBC did a nice little feature on that last week when they were doing their I think it was during their club guide show that they did.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty
so
cool
they did a great little interview on the place. Jack Keane is the bartender there. Jack and I did an interview a while back. I was in New York for the Real World job and had a chance to meet with Jack for a while. He ended up getting me drunk while we recorded and did an interview there for a little bit.
The guy who ran a bar got you drunk?
Yeah, I know. Go figure. And the guy, didn't even charge me $1, which is great. And I'm not suggesting if you go in there and pretend that you're a blogger that you may get free beers. But that said, it's a fabulous spot to go watch a game if you're never in Midtown Manhattan. They have, I think it was 16 TVs downstairs, all dedicated.
Wow.
They can all run independent television channels. They have pledged they will be open at any hour for a game to watch. If you have a group of people that'll be there to watch it, they'll be there for you. So,
and this is a place that's Saturday morning in season, packed to the rafters.
Absolutely. The Chelsea Blues, I think they have among the Chelsea Blues, I think they have another 30 clubs that have official supporters groups that meet there to watch their games on a weekly basis. So it's an excellent place to ever go and watch a match. I highly, highly recommend it. If you are going to be there on an EPL match weekend or a U.S. men's national team one, definitely make sure you get there early. Otherwise, you're not going to find a spot there. So
No.
Definitely check out the Football Factory at Legends.
Awesome.
Cool.
I'm glad that you brought that one up, because that was one I saw that feature on the club guide that NBC did, and I was like, that seems like the greatest bar ever. Like I went online and I was reading about it a little bit and just
yeah. I mean, it's not only the games. I mean, they have thousands of dollars worth of jerseys and signed memorabilia and all sorts of things. I mean, it is legitimately a mecca of football in this country. So. It's right next to, legitimately right across the street from the Empire State Building. You walk out their front door and you can look up and you can see it. So definitely check it out. It's one of the best soccer bars in the country, hands down.
Awesome. Sweet. Is there anything we wanted to clean up? If you have questions or if there's maybe a topic you want us to kind of chew on audibly for you,
we'd love to do it.
We'd love to do it. We're not experts.
No.
We're just kind of fans like you, so I don't know what else we're going to give you.
We're going to give you insight that you could perhaps develop on your own.
Pretty much.
So, but no, if you do have any questions, feel free to shoot either one of us, a tweet. Jeremy, your Twitter is what?
At Jeremy Lance.
At
Very
Jeremy
hard
Lance.
to remember.
Yeah, and mine is at wrong side of pond. No the in there. Thanks, character limit. So, yeah, shoot us a tweet, or you can hit me at wrongsideofthepond@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to answer any questions, talk about anything you want to talk about, listeners.
Obviously, if you have a pub that you want to submit to the Pub Atlas.
Yeah, absolutely. We will definitely do that as well. So.
Or maybe there's one on the Pub Atlas that you go to and you think needs to be our featured Pub of the Week.
Yeah, we would love recommendations there. So tell us what you want to hear, listeners, and we will maybe talk about it.
All right, next week, let's see, we'll have some UEFA midweek action.
To talk about some more.
We'll have
more Premier League.
Yeah. Depending on when we record it, we will have the marquee match of the week. I believe Monday is when the Chelsea United match is going off.
It's early in the season for that one.
It is.
Maybe the zombie Fox Soccer channel will try to confuse you to watch that.
Fox Soccer Zombie. They'll be playing one from 3 years ago at an FA Cup clash.
Watch out.
So, yeah. That's it for us.
Thanks a lot, guys and girls.
And
anyone else.
Anyone in between.
Yeah.
Alrighty.